Welcome back to another episode of Paladin Financial Talk. I'm Nikki Foley, and I am with the wonderful Mr. Jeff Foley today. And so I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I have to start by saying I am wearing a sweater that says weekend. We're heading into the weekend here. Jeff is suited up, but I think that there is a good contrast to actually talk about as we go into this. Jeff does our taxes every year, and he is so organized. He says he doesn't enjoy it, but I do think that there's a little bit that he enjoys along the way.
Secret pleasure.
There we go. I, on the other hand, do not usually participate, but this year I had to do and go through the process with my brother's estate. And I found that I had an organizer, and it made it so much simpler for me. It was bite-sized. I could understand it. I could look back at what had happened in previous years, and it was doable. And I think that comes along with having sometimes the right tools and the right people in place to assist you. And so while I said that Jeff loves it, it is his analytical part of him, where I'm a little bit more of the people and the energy and that side of things. But today we're going to talk.
As illustrated by your sweatshirt.
And my hair in a ponytail today. So, but today it is a good contrast to talk about taxes from the perspective of two different types of mentalities and the people and how you have to do it. It's a requirement. So what are some of the approaches and the perspective that we can bring to us, to our listeners here? One of the other things that I wanted to celebrate and talk about before we really dive into this episode is Jeff just finished his certified tax specialist designation. And so, Jeff, will you just tell our listeners a little bit about the purpose of that and why you did that for our organization?
Yeah, so taxes are an integral part of having a good financial plan. So at Paladin, we talk about the 4 pillars. You have your financial plan, your tax plan, your health plan, and your estate plan. And we want to make sure that those are well coordinated, and taxes touches all of that. So it's very important for what we do for our clients that we're looking at the tax equation and how do people minimize taxes, not just in a particular year, but over the long run. So looking at strategies on how we can help our clients to do that is really important.
Absolutely. So today, the purpose of our conversation and what we're going to cover on Paladin Financial Talk is, one, to do just a little year-end tax talk. Also make a special announcement with some of the new offerings that we have here at Paladin, and give some of the benefits and then actionable strategies as we move into year end. And again, bringing it back to no matter what your personality is, you have to do taxes. So let's dive in with this and talk a little bit more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, having a solid tax plan, Jeff, talk about that.
Yeah. Biggest thing is being proactive, and I think this is a statement in general with retirement planning. A lot of times people come to our educational events and tell us, well, we're not retiring for a couple years or 5 years, and we don't need to worry about it yet. And that's wrong answer. You want to start as soon as possible. So as it relates to tax planning, you want to be proactive. And yes, you've got 365 days in the year, but plan ahead for some of these opportunities and make sure you're thinking through those. So be proactive with it. One of our phrases in the office we love to say is a low tax year is a terrible thing to waste. So if you are of the belief that taxes are going to increase over time, if you look at the federal deficit and the government's need for more taxes in the future, that's something we're personally betting on, is taxes will go up over time. But we also have to look at the other side of the equation and what is your income projected to be. But don't brag that you had a low tax year if that's going to cost you more later. We also want to make sure that things are coordinated, as we talked about with the other pillars. You're looking at your financial plan is the most common one that relates to, and you're thinking through that. If I do something over here, how's that going to impact the other side of my plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the things that I just heard you say there, I would kind of wrap them up into some tax challenges as we talk through this. And so oftentimes people have a reactive approach to taxes and tax planning. Oftentimes I think that there's just not any tax planning, and that's what I heard you say there, especially as it relates in the coordination with your financial plan. I think one thing that we've heard along the way is customer service is oftentimes not there. There's, I think, a when you, and it goes, I think, on both sides, is sometimes, the tax preparers and accountants, they get busy and they don't have a great customer approach. And then it's also something people dread along the way. So it's not as if as everybody's super proactive about this. And so, missed opportunities are in there as well. And so there's a variety of challenges that go along with this. And as you also talked about, as time goes on, taxes could get more expensive. And so as we combine all these things together, we have found that we feel like we can offer a solution as it relates to the financial side interacting with the tax side of things.
Yeah.
So Jeff, if you'll go through and make our announcement about what we're excited to offer and the benefits.
Yeah. It's just kind of the backdrop on some of the things that you touched on there is the tax industry has quite a bit of a challenge, and very similar to the financial services industry is a lot of CPAs and enrolled agents, tax preparers, they're retiring, and there aren't as many new people coming into the industry. So if you're a CPA, an enrolled agent, a tax preparer, and you have several hundred clients, and now you have more and more people coming at you, there are only so many hours in the day. So you're seeing a lot of firms increase their prices, or they're decreasing their service because no blame to them, they just don't have the time to respond to that. So we think there's opportunity there to have a better solution, a different approach with that. So we've heard over the last several years from our clients a lot of frustrations with their current tax preparer, whoever that might be, and they want a different solution. So that's what we're offering here, starting with the 2025 tax year. So our announcement is we have launched Paladin Tax Services starting with 2025, and we have a strategic partnership with a firm for the tax preparation. And there's a lot that we can do for our clients that we're working with on the financial side to make sure those two pillars, the financial plan and the tax plan, are integrated. So as we work into adding value to our clients with that, we know what money is going in, we know what money is going out. We have access to their 1099s on any of the accounts that we're managing. We know what they're making as far as contributions and Roth conversions, and QCDs is a very common thing that gets messed up on tax returns because of how they're reported on 1099-Rs. So there's a lot of opportunities there. We're very excited about that. And this is backed by the same Paladin team and the values that support all of our clients. So we're very excited about this, and we'll talk more about some of the benefits of that.
Yeah, I've just heard in the last couple of weeks, actually, on two different occasions, of scenarios where tax preparers are no longer taking individuals. They are focusing on more businesses, and it's leaving people, like you started your conversation there, it's leaving people without solutions. And so being able to have a holistic approach to this and focus on our four pillars and being able to walk in the same door and have access to tax services is something we're really excited about. And I think we're filling a need that's out there right now.
Definitely. Yeah. And for people that have, most of their lives, they've been through their working years, they have a, W-2 or two W-2s, maybe a 1099 from a brokerage account, but things are pretty simple. As you transition into retirement, it's a different ball game. How are these things taxed? How is my Social Security taxed? Now I have more 1099s, and I'm looking at Roth conversions and other tax planning strategies. So there are more moving parts that go into that. So some of the benefits that we see in coordinating between the financial plan and the tax plan are, again, being proactive, as we talked about. And a lot of times financial advisors and tax people are not talking to each other. And the client is in between playing the telephone game to try to figure out what needs to come together. So we want to end that and be able to make sure that we're offering proactive value and help our clients to lower their taxes over their lifetime, not just in a particular year, and help them to feel more empowered and comfortable with this process.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. As you were talking about, things are getting more complicated as you continue to age and move into retirement. I just had a conversation this week of an individual and his wife who are making health insurance decisions, and that's very common at this time of year in the fall. It's either Medicare annual enrollment, or sometimes people are still on retiree health plans and open enrollment if you're on an individual plan. And so they're looking at their dollars and cents, and he was talking about, well, if I stay on a plan that's more expensive, it's his retiree plan, that is more comfortable, but I also might have to take more money out of my retirement accounts, which is going to push up my income, which could then impact IRMA. And this is a pretty sophisticated analytical individual, but that's just a great example of you pull a trigger over here or a lever on one side, it could impact 2, if not 3 additional things, and they all tie back to taxes. And so that's the type of thing that we're talking about, and making really good planning decisions and impacting the preparation side as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The leg bone is connected to the hip bone, as we learned as kids.
So I'm excited, Jeff, as you said a moment ago, our 4 pillars, that over the last couple of years, we have introduced Paladin Legal Services. We have also done Paladin Insurance, which handles the health insurance and Medicare side of planning. And then we have the financial, clearly that's the foundation of all this, and now Paladin Tax Services. So really working hard to make sure we have a holistic approach. And as we approach the end of the year, I think there's a lot of topics that we can bring forward that hits on the tax and the financial side of things. One of the things that took place earlier this year, and we spent an entire month talking about it on our podcast, is the One Big Beautiful Bill. And if you're not talking about this on a regular basis, you may have heard something, but it is certainly not a topic that registers to maybe the common lay person as they think about, themselves. It may be a piece where tips might impact somebody, but they're not really exactly sure what that means. And so, Jeff, bring back some of the highlights so we can revisit this. And if people want to hear more, like we said, we did a whole month on this earlier in the year. It was September of this year, I believe. So, Jeff, give us some of the highlights, and then we can decide if we want to talk about any of these in more detail.
Yeah, there's a lot in the One Big Beautiful Bill. And again, this went into law July 4th, and don't want to do this a disservice. There's a lot of opportunities this creates, but a lot of the big ones is that made quote unquote permanent. I like to say in pencil, the current tax brackets that we have, which is a big one. A number of these tax breaks that are in the bill are temporary, and a lot of them run from 2025 to 2028. Some of them start in 2026. You want to be aware of that. And there are also income phase outs to be aware of as well. So for sake of time, we're not going to go into too many of the details on that, but a couple big ones is the tip deduction. So if you are in an industry that normally produces tips, that you have the ability to deduct up to $25,000 a year off of your income based on that. So that could save you 3,000 to 5,000 years. That's pretty significant by itself. Overtime pay up to $12,500 per person, $25,000 if you're joint, and that for overtime, if you're paid a time and a half, for example, only the half counts towards that deduction. So that's a good opportunity. If you're looking at purchasing a brand new US made car, and there's a lot of rules around that, you can deduct up to $10,000 of the interest on that in a year. And a really big one that saved a lot of our clients money and created some additional tax planning opportunities is the new enhanced senior deduction. So that begins in any year that you're 65 or older. You have each person has a $6,000 increased standard deduction, a separate deduction for that. You get phased out of that as your income increases. But if you have a married couple, that's $12,000 of a reduction in taxable income that can create some other tax planning opportunities. So those are some of the big ones to look up at your situation and what might pertain to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I looked down the list of things that you said there, and I can think of somebody for each category that it impacts. And so if this is something that you might fit into one of these, Jeff kind of put it in there at the end, but it creates extra tax planning opportunities. Means, you, as you look at your bucket of assets, there's other things that you can do to be very efficient and make decisions that might have a really positive impact. It's not just, what we see on paper and talking about tips or overtime and so forth. And so this is where having a professional really can be in your favor, is how these work together and work in conjunction with each other. And so if you are curious about any of the things that Jeff went through there, or you're thinking about some of the tax concerns you might have, or as they relate to your financial as well, call us. Give us an opportunity to work through these with you and educate you and look at your unique scenario. And so again, always reach out at 651-842 8406. But let's just talk about a few more actionable strategies, Jeff, as we look at the end of the year and put things in motion.
Yeah. Big one would be tracking everything. And another additional opportunity that kicked in with the new bill is for charitable deductions. Even if you're using a standard deduction, you have the ability up to $1,000 per person to deduct charitable contributions. So in the past, if you were doing the standard deduction, you couldn't take advantage of that. Now you have that opportunity. So track everything, tips, overtime, any charitable events, loan information as it relates to the new car interest that we talked about. Bunch your deductions. So based on your situation, maybe you're still using the standard deduction, but if every other year you use what's called bunching, and you move certain deductions every other year, that could get you above the standard deduction. So one year you use standard, the next year you bunch and you're above the standard, next year you're back to standard. So that's an opportunity. So you have to plan ahead on what that's going to look like over a 2-year time frame. Also look at potentially accelerating some income into the years where we have these additional deductions, so 2025 to 2028 for the most part. Look at Roth conversions. So for example, if you're a married couple, you're each age 65 or older, and you have that enhanced senior deduction, that decreases your taxable income by $12,000. That might mean, does it make sense to do $12,000 of Roth conversions? We'd have to look at your situation to help answer that, but that's a potential opportunity. But as I mentioned earlier, start today. We're here in mid-November. There's not a lot of time left before the end of the year to take advantage of some of these opportunities. Look at your 2024 return, start there, make an estimate of 2025, and plan ahead for 2026. So what we do for our clients at Paladin Financial, we use tax planning software to do just that, is read your tax return. Here's what happened last year. That's history. How do we make history going forward and take advantage of time that we have? Time can be your friend or your enemy with this. A couple other things to look at is simplifying your plans. A lot of times people will come in and they have brokerage accounts at multiple institutions. They have 5 different banks that they have things at. It increases the likelihood you're going to have an error. It takes more time on your part to prepare everything. So look at, are there different ways that you can simplify your plan? And then figure out your tax process. So I know when we prepare for our taxes every year, we have our process that we go through to make sure we're collecting everything, comparing it to last year. So figure out what that looks like for you and get that down pat. We like to talk about processes in our office quite a bit.
I laugh, and coming back to the personality side of things is, if you're somebody that can navigate this on your own and you can see the opportunities without a lot of the organization, like my husband and our newest certified tax specialist, absolutely understand. But if you're somebody a little bit more like me, who needs the tax planner and needs some of the tools and tricks along the way to make sure that we're as efficient as possible, that I am taking the complexity and making it a little bit more bite-sized. This is what we're offering to you as part of Paladin Tax Services. And so, Jeff, anything else that you want to review about the strategies? Anything else bringing in one big, beautiful bill before we wrap up today?
Not on the bill per se, but one thing that we always recommend to clients, if you're still working, is find your recent Social Security statement, print that off, put that in your tax folder for the current year. And when you get to January and you get your W-2 from your employer, compare the earnings on your new Social Security report. So you run a new one off of SSA.gov and make sure that your employer reported your earnings correctly, because that might be a number of years before you file for Social Security, and a lot of people don't know what they made in 2025 when it's 15 years later. So keep an eye on that. That mistakes do happen with that. But turn the tax complexity, even though there's some opportunities with the new One Big Beautiful Bill, turn that complexity into your advantage by being proactive and thinking through that. We want to make 2025 our best tax year yet from a planning perspective. And if folks are interested in talking to us a little bit more about Paladin Tax Services and how we can serve you on that side, simply email us at info@paladinfinancial.com. and put in there your name and say, I'm interested in Paladin Tax Services, and we'll follow up with you here over the next month as we get ready for the 2025 tax year. You can also visit our website, paladinfinancial.com, and up at the top, there's a services button, and click on tax services, and you can find out a little bit more about what we're doing there. One of the things that we will be providing for anyone that we do taxes for is a personalized tax return summary. So it's a 6-page report. And we believe that an educated person about all of this stuff is going to be empowered, make better decisions, and have less stress. So what we will do is walk you through your tax return summary and help educate you and understand what are your sources of income, where are your opportunities, and how might you look at doing things differently in 2026 as we move forward. So those are some things to think about.
Absolutely. And so as we wrap up, thank you for joining us on Paladin Financial Talk this week. Email us at info@paladinfinancial.com if you're interested in having a conversation about our new Paladin Tax Services and the planning opportunities there. We'd love to meet with you on the financial side of things as well. Big thing as we roll into the end of the year. Make sure that you understand how the One Big Beautiful Bill will impact you and evaluate your year-end tax opportunities. And we'd love to be a partner with you. So visit us at paladinfinancial.com. Always reach us at 651-842-8406. And as Jeff mentioned there, we have that bonus today that we will offer you, that 6-page personalized tax summary just by reaching out to us. And follow us on social media. We look forward to ending out the year with really strong tax perspective here. And visit us at paladinfinancial.com.